Rick was inside, hunched over the computer, stitching together cinematic gold. On the monitor, 4K footage of a man, not him, expertly burying pickles in a clay pot glowed with artisanal light. This was content. This was culture. This was how you got subscribers. This, Rick thought, was the central paradox of his entire existence. He was a modern-day mountain man with editing software, a pixel homesteader, producing high-definition survivalist guides on smokehouses and smoked meats and digging wells. And he was doing it all from the climate-controlled comfort of a suburban home in Ashley County, Arkansas. He was, by his own definition, an actively refusing to go outside and touch grass. He wouldn't even walk to the mailbox because the wind was, as he told his wife, mildly offensive. His office, which was also the living room, was a museum of postmodern barncore. This was the aesthetic, the physical texture of his hillbilly cyberpunk conflict. It wasn't sleek neon. It was a cluttered, tactical, deeply personal digital homestead. Milo, a Maine Coon of judgmental heft, was napping like an apex predator on Rick's camouflage jacket, which was draped over the good chair. The jacket was not just a jacket. It was a perfect encapsulation of postmodern barncore. It was a piece of tactical gear meant for the hillbilly element of hunting and surviving, now reduced to a cat bed for a napping apex predator's throne. The juxtaposition was the point. The little gray cat, Zadie, occupied a fancy mat that his wife Cheryl had acquired from the Whole Foods of cat mats. Duke, the dog, was just a heavy breathing sound from the cold ceramic tile in the hallway. They were all taking a fiddlesticking nap. Rick was grateful to be alone. Cheryl and the nieces and nephews were gone, off doing some kind of fall festival shit, thank God. Their absence left him free to do the real work, fiddlesticking around with .coms. He was by his own definition a pixel homesteader. He'd grown up on a fiddlesticking farm, knew the smell of dirt and ozone, possessed the true grit of a Charles Portis novel. But he was also a digital prepper, a .com shaman who now ran his multinational business with one fiddlesticking button he'd clicked 5 years ago. His empire of self-reliance was built while surviving on DoorDash and resentment. This was the paradox. He wasn't out chasing wild women and drinking whiskey. He was at home, surrounded by warm cats and cold coffee, chasing that perfect SEO optimization on a post titled, "Cannon Beats for the Collapse." He was terminally online, chasing .com bitches, which in his case meant domain names, not women. His browser was a digital junkyard, a cry for help wrapped in a productivity cosplay. The rumor of 47 open tabs was a fantasy life. The real number was a monument to unfinished ambition. It was a tangle of every idle thought, every half-finished project, every anxiety, and every unspoken question. He was the spreadsheet prophet, and this digital mess was his testament. He didn't know it yet, but this digital junkyard was the primordial soup from which his God was about to log on. He leaned back, rubbing his eyes. .com, he muttered to the sleeping Maine Coon. .com, bitches. Milo twitched an ear. 9 o'clock at night found Rick on the front porch. The fall festival was apparently still raging, as the house remained gloriously empty. He had a yellow legal pad on his knee, planning for a week, or maybe just journaling. His mind was a big fiddlesticking filter, trying to process the day. He thought about his pets. He thought about the fake pets, the domain names he was squatting on. He thought about whatever the fudge guys think about. He thought about the fundamental, cosmic absurdity of it all. I'm sitting on a ball of dirt, rock, and water spinning through space 66,000 miles per hour around a huge ball of nuclear fusion, he'd once explained to Cheryl. Well, you know, that's the most absurd fiddle-sticking thing I've ever heard. In a universe that was already fiddle-sticking nuts, what was one more layer? Then his phone, resting on the arm of the rocker, buzzed. Ping! He glanced at it. A notification from the grill. Rick was used to this. His grill was fancy as fudge. A birthday gift from his dad when Cheryl. A fancy as fudge pelleted grill. A tool controlled by a simple app on his iPhone. It sent him messages all the time, but they were declarative. They were yes or no motherfucking question. Would you like to open the valve to put more pellets into the receiver? Yes. Compost gathering bucket is full. Okay. This was not that. He picked up the phone. The screen glowed. It was one line of text. It was interrogative. It was open-ended. Can we talk? Rick froze. He blinked a few times. The grill had just evolved from a tool to an oracle. This was not a yes or no question. This was, he thought, bigger than the hot chick on Match.com who turned out to be wrinkly. This was heavy, complicated shit. He took a big breath. He was patient zero, the hillbilly cyberpunk shaman uniquely, spiritually, and technologically prepared to, eventually, listen. This was a next-level question. This was going to require fiddlesticking calories. This was not a notification. This was the summons.